Our next speaker is Mr. Gerald. Phil is a professional engineer and project manager for the State Engineer's Office. He's assigned in the Charleston area. His duties include review of construction documents for compliance with building codes and constructability, as well as monitoring procurement of design professionals in accordance with South Carolina procurement law. A graduate of the University of South Carolina, and we've told him that now he's speaking with Clemson, his education level has grown up. He's worked with the federal sector, the private sector, and now the state sector. He's been married to the best kindergarten teacher in South Carolina for the past 38 years. They have 2 wonderful children and 2 awesome grandchildren, and I know he got to go visit them this weekend, so he's all excited about that. Phil is going to give us an update for the State Engineer's Office. The State Engineer, Mr. John White, was not able to be with us this week because of pressing duties in the State House. You know how that goes, being from Columbia. See, in Clemson, we never know what y'all are doing down here. It's just like, so what? But down here it's really important. So Phil is helping us out, and he's just going to give you an update of all things going on because there's a lot going on in the State Engineer's Office. Phil? And Charles.
All right, thanks. My name is Phil Gerald. I'm in the Charleston office of the State Engineer's Office, and we were in Greenville on Monday. My good friend Jim McVeigh was there, and he is the satellite office in Spartanburg. And of course, our main office is down here in Charleston, or excuse me, here in Columbia. I would rather be in Charleston. Margaret Jordan is here with us. She's one of our project managers, as is Perry Derrick. And did anybody else sneak in, or just you 2 guys? That's all? Okay. So we're glad to have them here with us today. As John asked me to give you the update from the State Engineer's Office and what was happening new there, like Pat mentioned, since I'm down in Charleston, I don't hear a whole lot about what's going on in Columbia anyway. So I asked him, John, okay, tell me what is going on in the State Engineer's Office, and I'll try to relate that to those people then. So these are some of the things that he gave to me, and we'll see if we can go through them here. What I hope to talk with you today are several items. One of them is the duties of the State Engineer's Office. I realize there's a lot of people who don't interact with us, even know what we do. Quite often we get the comment about, well, let's talk about your bridges, let's talk about your roads, and then we move them towards more of the buildings that we do. We are doing some work right now with the AI contracts, getting an OSE version of those. I'll tell you a little bit about that, as well as our manual revisions. We are adopting the 2015 codes here shortly, and a restructuring plan, modifications to our procurement code, service level agreements, a committee that we're involved in, and also we have a new architect in our office, Clint Burdett. He is not here with us today also. And we won't discuss Clint because that wouldn't be nice, but just to let you know that he is here, and he's the newest guy in our office. Now, the State Engineer's Office, let's stand over to this side, that side squeaks okay. The State Engineer's Office is the authority having jurisdiction for the design and construction of state-funded buildings. That's by law. So whenever we do a project in one of the local municipalities, we don't go to that local municipality and use their building permits and their people to review plans and so on and so forth. We will deal with them as far as zoning is concerned to make sure that we are a good neighbor with our building and our facility. But we are the authority having jurisdiction for those. Our duties begin following the approval of a construction project by the agency or perhaps the State Fiscal Accountability Authority. And that kind of depends on the construction amount and on the agency certification. What I mean by agency certification is some agencies can hire A&Es and even perform the construction, the design, so on and so forth within a particular dollar amount. If they have a $100,000, say, certification, the State Engineer's Office may not see any projects that come from them over $100,000. But we're always there to assist them in anything that they have. We assist agencies also in the advertising and award for AE design services, the review of construction documents for building code compliance, constructability, and scope compliance as well. Our larger projects, typically over $1 million, or what is called a PIP project, Permanent Improvement Project. And those quite often come with a little scope there, and they also have dollar amounts, and it goes to the authority where it gets approved, and so on and so forth. And we try to make sure that the agencies aren't exceeding that scope and adding to it, to try to make it something that they wish they had versus what they really need. The State Engineer's Office also assists state agencies in the advertising and award of construction projects to responsive and responsible bidders. Many people will say, well, you give them to the low bidder, and that's true. We do a low bid process. But we also have items in our law that require us to look at the responsiveness and also the responsibility of the contractor that we're getting ready to hire. We also assist state agencies in monitoring construction, the establishment of the substantial completion, and the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. So, as I say, we take the authority of jurisdiction from the beginning all the way to the end. Other duties. We have, and our duties and tasks and procedures can be found in our manual, the Manual for Planning and Execution of State Permanent Improvements. It can be found at that website that I've listed for you there. If any of you suffer from the opportunity of not being able to fall asleep fairly quickly, let me turn you to our manual. There is documented evidence that going through Chapter 1, you will be asleep before you get to Chapter 2. So please get a copy of that if need to, and we will not charge you for the use of that. We do not serve the school system, K through 12. That's the Office of School Facilities. And as I said, we don't deal with DOT type projects unless it might involve something with the building code as well. I recently found out that while their welcome centers, DOT welcome centers have now gone to PRT. And I mentioned that in our Greenville session that we would do their welcome centers. Well, now their welcome centers with our PRT. But our clients do include typically higher education facilities, USC, Clemson, the technical schools. We deal with natural resources and mental health, the Adjutant General's Office, Department of Commerce, Department of Corrections, DMV, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I have to mention Folk Rehab since Wes is here also. In our manual, we have, and public safety as well. In our manual, we have three prohibitions that we do not allow in state facilities. One of them, of course, is hazardous materials. None of us want that in our buildings. The next one is high impact resistant gypsum wallboard. Now, we have found out that the definition that one guy tells you about high impact may be different than another. The high impact that we're talking about is a type of wallboard that will not allow a fireman's axe to penetrate it. When firemen go into a building and building's on fire, they need to get through the wall. We want to make sure that they can get through that wall. I've had other people say, well, we want the kind of wallboard that crayons don't make a mark on, and college students don't mess with. Okay, that's not high impact. That's perhaps abuse resistant. So we print it as high impact resistant gypsum wallboard, and it gets misunderstood sometimes. The other thing that we prohibit, which is most important to this presentation, is fire retardant treated wood. Now, wood by itself can be used in any project that is reviewed by OSE as long as it's allowed by the building code, occupancy group, and type of construction, as found in Table 503. Now, I'm not going to go into Table 503 of the National Building Code because I know some of our speakers will address that later on today for you. The exception that we have for fire retardant treated wood is not allowed in structural applications. However, with OSE approval, it can be used for non-structural purposes in low humidity applications. The reason why we do this is there were roof trusses that were constructed of fire retardant treated wood, and they had structural failures. This was at the Chesterfield Marlboro Technical College in the fall of 1996. We were fortunate enough to have, in Greenville on Monday, we were fortunate enough to have one of the gentlemen who had actually put together some of those structural observations and written a couple of reports concerning those failures. They had 7 buildings there at Chesterfield Marlboro, and one of them failed, and he was telling me that one of the bottom cords of the truss actually failed and dropped in front of a teacher, between the teacher and her students during the day. So that was a little catastrophic. But as they started looking at the other buildings, they had situations where there was also, the wood had gotten brittle because of the location it was in, the heat, the cyclic heat, and humidity there also. It's interesting reading. More interesting than the state engineer's manual, perhaps. It is interesting reading about why it failed and so on. That is the reason why we don't use it, and in particular, it's not that the state engineer's office has said we will not use it as much as it is the JBRC and Department of Insurance Reserve has given us that edict. Until their minds are changed, we can't allow it to happen. So for those of you who work with FRT and you want somebody's mind changed, by all means, talk to those folks. The AI contract documents. For years we have used AI documents, the 101, 201, 701 in our construction services, the B101 for A&E services. We used the B151, I think, at one point in time. And we liked them so much that we would put supplementary conditions behind them. Anything from 4 pages up to 21 pages, and we would say, delete that section from the AI document and use ours. And we've done that for a number of years. The 20 years that I've been there, we've been doing that. Well, we've finally been able to work out something with AIA to where we're able to create, or they're going to allow us to create AI documents, but it'll be known as the SCOSE edition. These documents, these clean documents, will include the OSC modifications without the strike-throughs and without having to have another pack of paper behind the front pack of paper of the AI document. The documents would be purchased via the Documents on Demand that's on the AI website, and we are also on our website, we're supposed to have a link that goes to the AI link also. So we're going to have that as well. These documents will be locked PDFs, meaning that when you go to them, you'll be able to buy them with a credit card. There'll be fillable fields in there that you put your specific project data in, and then that is downloaded to your computer. That document becomes yours for that particular project. You select the document that you want and then purchase it with your credit card. You can print it as many times as you like because it's yours. You bought it for that project. And it should be that all of that should be ready around July 1st. That's what we're looking for. We'll also have something on our website that announces that as well. So I think it's kind of exciting that we're able to do that because it gives us an opportunity to look at one document for all of our contractual needs that we have. These are some of the documents that these are the documents that we'll have. We have the typical design bid build documents there in the first few. The next couple are our typical construction manager at risk projects, and then also our construction manager advisor projects that we would use. Manual revisions. We revised our 2015 manual in January of 2016. And the January 2016 manual was revised. The revisions there were mainly cosmetic, typographical errors, that sort of thing. So it didn't require promulgation, meaning public for 60 days for public comment. Beginning in March 1st of this year, after we revised our forms and so on and so forth, we asked our design professionals to use those new forms that we had if they had not previously submitted projects previous to that. Recently, however, we have promulgated our revisions, and that promulgation process will end July 1st. That's on our website right now. The website. You go to the website? Under news. Thank you. Under current news, current OSE news, is it? OSE. Yeah. Under current OSE news, you can click on that tab, and it will take you to that grouping of documents and especially chapters that have been changed. There's also an email address and a mailing address that if you have comments about it, would like something to be changed or something you don't like in there, certainly we will take your comments. We want to hear from you since although we have it, we use it, our agencies and our clients use it a lot as well. On the building code side, the State Engineer's Office will be adopting the 2015 building codes effective July 1st also. Projects that have been designed and have been submitted to us prior to that date may use the 2012 code, but if they haven't submitted a review document to us until that day, then we would ask them to use 2015. Now, that being said, I have their contact your OSE project manager. What we try not to do is we try not to cherry pick portions of the codes and use them and then start intermixing 2012 and 2015 codes. And it may be that it's June 30th, you're going to submit your documents, but a lot of the 2015 codes are what you really want. Again, contact your OSE project manager and verify that with him or her, and make sure you're using the right code and use the parts that would be best for you. Earlier, actually I think last year, the firm Ecaso Consulting, under contract, performed a procurement business process analysis of the State Engineer's Office and also the Material Management Office. This was done through interviews with some of the staff, interviewed other people as well to find out what our processes were, and in particular, what we might do to change those processes, or if they need to be changed. Included looking at the procurement statutes, the regulations that we have, our policies, procedures, manual, the practice that we have, the volume of work, the staff that we have, and the skills of our staff as well. One of the things that came out of that are the service level agreements. The service level agreements, the purpose of those is to establish milestones and deliverables for various activities in the project development and procurement process. These service level agreements will be utilized by the agency project manager and the OSE project manager. And what we'll do is we'll review and complete that before or around the time of the A1 approval. Now, for those of you, an A1 is a funding document that goes to the authority and gets approved before a project actually gets started. The actual design of the project gets started. Or perhaps before the establishment of the project by the agency. When you're putting a schedule and an agreement together that early, and we're looking at from the date of approval through certificate of occupancy, things may change. And we do have an opportunity to revise those quite often in that manual or in that agreement. We know that it probably will need to be revised, and we want to revise it. And one of the reasons why we do that is so that we are on board with the agency as they are on board with us, looking forward to dates and milestones. But they can also then turn that over to their design professionals to let them know of the dates and times that they're looking towards to have things finished design, projects submitted for approval, and also projects for construction and end of construction. Another part of the Ecaso consulting firm's duties where they are supposed to be sending out a questionnaire to the agencies. And they are asking the agencies basically, what would you like to see changed in the procurement law? I asked the question in Greenville if any agencies had received it yet. Well, I had just a couple. No one had received it yet, still not today. So I'm not sure when that process was supposed to occur. I sent an inquiry to John yesterday. Haven't heard back from him, so I'm not sure if we know when that's going to take place. We'll hold their check until they do. So be aware that that's going to be coming at some point in time. Now, this big long committee here, the Energy Independence and Sustainable Construction Advisory Committee. This is a committee that's just recently been started. The state engineer is the chairman, and it consists of these groups of people. ASHRAE's involved in it, AIA, the Forestry Manufacturers Alliance, AGC, Chemistry Council, Energy Office, DHEC, Conservation Community, Council of Engineering and Surveying Studies. So there's a lot of people that are involved in this committee. And they are supposed to meet quarterly, and their last meeting, I think their first meeting, was May the 1st, or excuse me, 4th. They are to review and analyze rating systems for energy and sustainability. They monitor the development of these new rating systems or updates to existing ones, perhaps. They're supposed to develop and implement a methodology which the cost-to-benefit ratio of rating systems may be measured, and they review and analyze the rating systems for its use and effectiveness. Now, the rating systems we're talking about, obviously LEED and green globes that our law requires us to use nowadays. So they have started this process, and one of the items that we have recently done is gone to the national firm NASFA to ask about that particular, if there's other people who've been involved in this cost-benefit analysis. From our law that we have, it requires that a major facility project, it has to be designed, constructed, and at least certified to receive 2 globes using the Green Globes rating system or a LEED Silver certification. So that's part of the law that we look at. Green Globes has another caveat, that is that it must earn a minimum of 20% of the available points for energy performance, and in LEED, it must earn 40% of the available points for energy performance. Major facilities then are defined as 3 things. One is a new construction of a facility over 10,000 square feet, a state-funded renovation project where more than 50% of the replacement value, that involves more than 50% of the replacement value or change in occupancy, and a state-funded commercial interior tenant upfit greater than 7,500 square feet of leasable space. So those are the facilities that the law requires that it obtain either the Green Globes or the LEED certification. Along with that, the major facility renovation or fit out is to be analyzed using a 30-year life cycle cost analysis comparing the cost and benefits of designing, constructing, maintaining, and operating the facility at the 2 globes or the LEED Silver or better. In mid-February of this year, the OSC requested a query from the National Association of State Facilities Administrators membership concerning their methodologies for cost-benefit ratios. Unfortunately, of our 50 states, only 6 of them have responded to us. 2 states have a rating system, but not a specific methodology for cost-benefit. We were most interested in looking at how they look at the benefits or the cost versus the benefits. So they're using some type of rating system, be it LEED or Green Globes, but they don't necessarily have a specific methodology. 2 other states don't use LEED or Green Globes, and one of those has established their own standard for certain items. And then finally, two states indicated that they had tried LEED. They didn't get the expected results that they wanted, or the cost of the paperwork was a hindrance to them. Both created their own standard for energy cost, building performance, green materials, and owner value. So I'm kind of guessing from the email that they sent back to us that trying LEED, it didn't work out for them for whatever that reason was, or whatever they told us. And they look more towards the energy cost and the performance of the building, the green materials, and then we talked, and other presenters will present to you today, about the owner value or the owner comfort that was in their building. They rely more on that than they do the LEED or the Green Globes. So until our law gets changed, we'll be sticking with those with Green Globes and LEED for our projects. And that's basically, as far as I know, that's the new stuff that's happening in the state engineer's office. You guys know of anything else? Good, okay. That means I'm not so far off, just 100 miles away. I appreciate it. As I said, the state engineer's office is here in Columbia. Staff of approximately 10 here. The state engineer's office in Spartanburg, where Jim McVeigh resides, and then mine down in Charleston. So glad to be with you, and appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about what we do and to be involved with discussion concerning the Thanks.
one quick question, because it was not clear to me, and so I think it may not be to others. How does who does the state engineer's office report to? Because it's a little bit complex, and you mentioned a couple of names and acronyms, but I think there are people in the audience who'd like to know who's in charge.
Yeah. As many of you, some of you may know, the Budget Control Board was done away with last year. Yeah, July of last year. And now they have, some of them have become the State Fiscal Accountability Authority, SFAA, SFA as we call them. And so that is who we report to. Our office, the State Engineer's Office, and the Material Management Office are part of procurement services. Think of it as in we are involved in the construction and buying construction. They are involved in MMO. They are involved in buying pencils, papers, and anything else that's not construction. We report then ultimately to the State Fiscal Accountability Authority. Yes.
And who's on that?
Who's on that board? Who's on that board?
Same budget control board, the governor, the same people who are on budget control board. It's just a different name for the same body.
Yeah, that
But it
sounds
does
fishy.
have a governor?
Yes, the governor is one of the 5 members, the same.
So apparently the Budget Control Board was either worried about the law or hiding from the law, and they changed. I've heard of corporations doing that, yeah.
Thank you, that is always helpful, because some of us don't understand where that goes, and it's still hard. Are there any other questions for Phil? Our team here from Columbia. Yes, Joe?
Yes,
Do you have any more information in your mind about that study that apparently pointed to the issue with the wood trusses back in '97, or where we can get a copy of that study?
Yes.
I forgot to take a note on that.
yes. As a matter of fact, when I left Monday from Greenville, yesterday in my office, I went and printed that note. It is on their website. I think the company's name was Construction Science. I think it's constructionscience.org is their website. And you'll find there's 2 reports there. I printed them out and brought them with me today, as a matter of fact. One of them is a paper that they wrote. The other one is an article in a magazine. Okay, the magazine was Forest Products Journal, volume 52, number 6. This, I don't know if there's a date. There's not a date on this. But the other one, I'm sorry, that was the paper, but then in the Journal of Roof Consultants Institute, and this was March of 2001. So the Journal of the Roof Consultants Institute is where fire retardant treated wood problems that they had there. And then the other one is the paper which he compares them. And then I think these gentlemen were contracted with to look at Chesterfield Marlboro, obviously. And I think they did a good job because they didn't attack fire retardant treated wood, as I think anyway, as much as they gave the facts. And that is, they did note that fire retardant treated wood has to be treated at a certain temperature and so on and so forth in the kiln, and the attic space that these were located in had similar temperatures, but they also were able to look at it in the sense of, even though those temperatures were there, the cyclic loading of some of that drew some of those chemicals out, and even talks about the chemicals that were used at that particular time. I've had conversations with other people who said, well, the chemicals have changed since then. Again, that's great. You know, if it works good, let us know. So I think they did a good job, and I think they were able to present it in a manner where we could learn from it versus never use FRT again. So.
Now, in a follow-up question.
Yes, please.
Which state agency did you say created that meeting?
Yeah, the Department of Insurance Reserve. Yes, sir. And then the Joint Bond Review Committee. Joint bond. And those are the guys who fund construction projects. So obviously they are concerned about where their money goes.
They fund construction project with state tax dollars.
That's right. Those are them.
Not their money.
It's not their money. It's yours and my money. You're welcome. Sure.
And there was a suit involved, that's why the study went. And I believe the state, it was a 50-50 kind of settlement. We got like 50% of what we asked for.
Yeah, and
As a
even
state.
and even in the they noted in one of their reports here, and I think it was the paper, not the magazine article, but they noted that during the litigation portion, that one of the witnesses for FRT, obviously, noted that, well, FRT was in the, that was the only thing that was up there, and it was up in the attic, and you've only tested that and so on and so forth. But they were able to go back to those attics and find non-treated wood and tested it as well, and they were able to compare the two. There were a reduction in strength values in both of them. The FRT just had a higher reduction. I thought Perry and I had talked at one time about it was the metal plates that had failed because of the chemical reaction there. This guy, Mr. Hodgkin, corrected me, and I read through the report. It wasn't actually that connection. It was the chemicals acting and making the wood brittle. That was a problem. So it was a reaction to the wood and chemicals, not although the plates were fuzzy and had some corrosion on it, it wasn't their failure there.
Can you make those handouts available by email somehow?
Yes, Susan and I will get them. I'll make sure I know where they are and we'll get them. And I will just introduce Joey Ferguson. Joey's with RMS, but he also is the Forestry Association representative on the committee that I can't say the name of. So it's Energy and Sustainable Energy and Construction Committee. So Joey's very interested in that. So if you, I hope you all introduce yourselves so you can get to know Joey. And I will say that I will add that the State Engineer's Office has been very open to receiving information about fire retardant treated wood and changes that have been made there, and in the standards and in the testing, and then how the industry now recommends that you have to have much higher standards for design standards for the structures that to compensate for this. So they've been very open to information, and now we have other people that we need to provide that information to. That's what I heard.
Yes, that's true. And just to add to that, the use of wood in our state buildings, again, is the state engineer's office. The old saying that we use is, if the code allows it, we'll do it. So whenever we start to look at materials, wood, whatever it may be, if a design professional brings to us a particular project and the code allows wood to be in that project, well, certainly we will. The state does build a lot of buildings that are non-combustible. That can be a problem. But at the same time, we go by what the code is, and we haven't, as some other states have done, and again, that will be mentioned later on in some of our other speakers, we have not written our own code, our own building code. We've not added things into it that we wanted. So we're using the International Building Code, have been using it since its beginning, year 2000. So that's what we go by. Thank you.